Hello, welcome back to another video. As you know, the video title we have given D365 F&O SysOperation Framework Conditional Dialog with UIBuilder. In this video, we'll learn how to use SysOperation Framework in Dynamics 365 Finance on Operation, especially using a UIBuilder class to control dialog behavior like enabling a date field only when a checkbox is selected. So enabling a date field only when a checkbox is selected. So what is the SysOperation framework? The SysOperation framework is used to build and execute business logic in a structured way. It consists of four main components. The first one is the data contract class. The second one is the service class. The third one is the controller class, and optionally sometimes it requires the UIBuilder class. So in this project, as you can see, we have a menu item. So this menu item is nothing but it will hold or this will refer to our object, which is the controller class. Okay, so as you can see, I have given a object type is the class and the object will be my controller. So this my controller is nothing but this controller that is present in my project, correct? So let me show you the sample first, then I'll explain the code again. So when you are working with a batch job, then this particular service, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Unified Operation Batch Service, Batch Management Service should be enabled. It should start. If it is not running, then you have to right click and then you have to click on the start button. Okay, now if you want to execute, then make this menu item as a startup object and then just click on the start button. So you will reach to this particular section or in this particular front end where you have to select the enable parameter and the date field. So as I have explained that it will give you the two field, one checkbox and one date field. So when we will disable it, the date field will be disabled, and if we'll open it or if we'll on it, then we can select a date from here. Okay, and this one is nothing but the name of the batch. We can change the name through a method, but at this point of time we don't want to change it. And if you'll enable this batch processing yes, then what happen, it will execute in a batch mode. So if you'll click over here, you will be able to see that this message, the my operation service run task job is added to your batch queue. So if you'll go to this particular form, batch job form, so how you will get it, you will get it batch job. So if you search it, you will go to this particular form. Already I have shown that system administrator and inquiry section. If you go in the menu item, then you will reach to this particular form, and after that here you can filter the description, batch job description there, and you can click on the apply. So here whatever the name you can see, we have used the same name, and you can see that it is in the waiting state. So again I'll check that my batch management service is working or not. As you can see that it is again stopped, so I have to click to start it, otherwise it will be remain in the waiting state, it will not execute. So I have to wait to start, and then again I'll check the status. So as you can see, now it is in the now it is running. Okay, again I'll go in my front end and again I'll refresh it. Now you can see the status change and it is executing. So I can go inside by clicking here by the job ID. So if I'll click over here, you will be able to see that the execution completed. That is why the status is showing ended, correct? So if you want to see the parameter again, now in the parameter section you will be able to see that the param date and enable date and the date I have selected, that you can see over here, correct? So if you want to see the batch of history, then click on that history button, and then you'll be able to see that this is the history of the batch job. The actual start time, actual end time you can see, right? Again, if you want to see the log, then you will be able to see the log, and you have to click here the message details. And here, as you can see, our service class printed two message. One is the enable date, it was selected or not, yes or no. It will, if it will not select it, then it will show you no over here. And we have selected yes, and we have selected a date, so that's why it is showing the date over here. Let me explain about the myController class. The myController class is the custom controller class that uses the SysOperation Framework in Dynamics 365 F&O. It is used to launch an operation like a batch or synchronous process, like the operation to a service class and the data contract. It controls the dialog execution mode and the user interaction. So as you can see, this one is nothing but the declaration of the class, and this is the name of the class, and which is extending from the SysOperation Framework Service Controller class. So it inherits the SysOperation Service Controller, a built-in base class. This is the base class of X++ that manages the execution of the service operation. It allows you to bind a service class and service method. It controls how the dialog appears. It also specifies the execution mode such as the batch, synchronous, asynchronous, like etc. So in the new method, what is this new method? This is the constructor. It does three things with the super method. It links to the service class. So how it links, as you can see in the super, this is nothing but the class str, the class service class name. So it is linked to the service class. The name of the service class is myOperation service. Also it specifies the method to run, which method in the service class it will run. So first we have to specify the class name, and then you have to give the name of the method. In our case, the name of the method is the run task, and it sets the execution mode. The execution mode, as you can see, SysOperation execution mode, and this is in the synchronous mode. So there are other than the synchronous, there we have a multiple option. You can explore this particular enum and you can see. Okay, so in our case we want to execute in the synchronous fashion, so that is why we have specified the synchronous. So this controller is configured to run the run task method inside the myOperation service class, and it runs synchronously, that is right away, not in the background. Also it is having the main method. So as we can see in the main method, what we are doing, this is the entry point of your controller class. So this main method is called when you run the class from an action menu item. It executes this manually from the Visual Studio, or you can link to a particular form and you can click on that action menu item to execute it or to start it. So this particular main method, it creates the instance of the myController and it calls the start operation. So this particular start operation method, which shows the dialog for the user to enter inputs from the data contract class, when calls it linked to the service method. Okay, so I hope now it's clear that what this controller is actually doing. Now let's go to this particular contract class, myContract class, and let's explain. So what is the purpose of the this contract class, myContract class? The myContract class is used to define the input parameters for a process. It controls which field appear in the dialog, link each field to UI control using the attribute, optionally control the dialog using the UIBuilder class. So as you can see, we have provided attributes like data contract. Also we have specified the SysOperation contract processing, we have specified the UIBuilder, and here we have specified the false. So here the data contract, as you can see, it makes, this is the contract, data contract, making it enable the SysOperation framework. It requires to expose class field as a dialog input. So that is why we require this class. And this particular SysOperation processing, contract processing, this is nothing but it can take the identifier name, it can take SysOperation data processing mode. So here it connects the UIBuilder class. So this one is this one helps to connect with the UIBuilder class. In our case, the class name is, as you can see, this is our class name UIBuilder, my contract UIBuilder, with the contract class itself. So this contract class will be connected to the UIBuilder class as well. And the false, this is the flag. It prevents the framework from auto generating dialog control. So only field you manually add in the UIBuilder class will be displayed. So that is why you have specified field. Otherwise it will show you the duplicate field in your dialog form. So as you can see, this in our declaration we have two variables. The first one is enable date and the second one is trans date. The enable date, this can be yes no field, like a checkbox to enable or disable the data field. And this trans date, it holds the actual transaction date. Type is the trans date, which is the nothing but one date. And the method, as you can see, we have two methods, perm enable date and the perm trans date. The first method, this is getter on setter method. For the enable date field, it decorates with the data member attribute enable date filter, which exposes it into the dialog. It level is the enable date filter in the UI. Also it uses the optional parameter syntax. If the enable date field is passed it assigned to, it always returns the current value of the enable date field. So if we'll pass anything, so it will initialize it and then it will return it. In the similar way, we have the perm trans date. So this also a setter getter for the trans date field. It exposes on the dialog and it sets the fields level as the transaction date with this attribute. Okay, so let me go to the UIBuilder class and let me explain the things. Okay, so as you can see, this one is nothing but the class declaration. You are extending the SysOperation automatic UIBuilder base class. This gives you control over how the dialog form looks. The two variable here you can see dialog field, dialog enable date and dialog field dialog transfer. This holds the UI controls for the checkbox and date field on the dialog. The dialog field is the wrapper that represent form controls in the dialog. And the build method, as you can see, this method build is called when the dialog is being created. You don't call the super because that would automatically add dialog field, causing the duplicate fields, which was the issue if you'll call here the super. And remember that here we are specifying here the data contract and the SysOperation processing. Here we are specifying the name of the UIBuilder class that we are using in this project, and here we are specifying false. So if we'll specify the false over here, then the automatic generation of the field duplicate field you will not get it. Okay, otherwise you will get the duplicate fields in your front end. The key point over here for this build method, so here in this particular line, this dot data contract object, it returns the actual my contract class instance, and this particular method, this dot dialog field, it adds the parameter manually to the dialog, which is linking the enable date method and perm trans date method. Now let's talk about the post start method. This is called after the dialog is shown. Here the register overwriting method, this replaces the modified method of the checkbox with your custom variable custom method. When the checkbox changes, enable date modified get triggered, and this particular method set trans date enable, it is immediately sets the initial state of the date field which enable or disable based on the checkbox. And this method set trans date method, what is actually doing over here, This function checks if the checkbox is checked yes or not no. Then it enables or disables the date field accordingly. Then it enables or disables the date field accordingly. And what is doing over enable date modified? This method it gets called whenever the checkbox is toggled. It called set date enable to update the set of the date field. It returns true to indicate the override worked correctly. So here we have discussed about the build method, post run, set run state, and enable date modifier. So what is the purpose of the build method? It adds the dialog field manually to prevent the duplicate. What is the post run? It hooks the checkbox toggle event to a custom method. The set transdate enable, this controls whether the date field is enabled or not. The enable date modifier, this method trigger the logic when the checkbox is changed. So I hope now you understood that what this methods actually doing in the UIBuilder class. And let me explain the my service operation service class. So the my operation service class is the service class that contains the actual business logic or processing code that you want to run using the SysOperation framework. This class is automatically called by the controller because we have specified the name of the my service controller class name, and we have specified which method to trigger. Okay, so here the my task is the entry point in the service class. If we'll talk about the entry point, the action menu item is the first entry point. So that is why I am specifying that. I am telling that this class is automatically called by the controller, my controller, once the dialog is filled and submitted by the user. You can see the declaration over here, class declaration. The class declaration, it inherits from the SysOperation service base class, which make it compatible with the SysOperation framework. It allows you to define service method that accept a data contract and do some work. So in this particular public void method, what we are doing, this is the main method that get executed. It takes an argument underscore contract of the type my contract, which is your data contract class, correct? This contract carries user input values from the dialog like a checkbox or date field. If you will give multiple field inside your my contract class, so it will grab each and every data from your contract class and you will be able to access each and everything over here. And we have two different info methods. So what is it is doing? It is fetching the value from the data contract using the PARM methods, correct? So this one, it will grab the value from the contract class and it will grab for the PARM enable field, and this the second one, it will grab the transaction date. To see the log, then you will be able to see the log, and you have to click here the message details, and here as you can see our service class printed two message. One is the enable date, it was selected or not, yes or no. It will, if it will not select it, then it will show you no over here, and we have selected yes and we have selected a date, so that's why it is showing the date over here. So why it is showing like that, already I have shown in my service class. There is a two info message, enable date and transaction date. So if there is any kind of business logic you want to execute, then you have to write the code over here, and you can do any kind of operation, any business operation you want to do it. Okay, so I hope now it's clear how we can work with the SysOperation framework and the UIBuilder class. In the real world scenario, the batch job can be more complex. It can contain more than 2, 3, 4, 5 of parameters. Also, the logic inside the service class can be more than 200, 300, 400, 500 lines based on the requirement. But I have shown you the basic requirement and one simple example how you can access and how the framework actually work with the UIBuilder class. Okay, so if you have any question regarding this, you can ping or you can write a comment. I'll try to solve your problem as soon as possible. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye bye.